Hi guys, Malky here from Lone Star Marine. This is the last video in our series. We really thank you for watching them. I hope they've been of some help. I hope they answered some questions for you and made installation and purchasing these products a little easier. Now, we asked some of our customers what questions you would like answered on tape, what would have really helped you in your purchasing or installation. So we've got a beautiful summer day on foreshore of Rye. People are moving around everywhere. I'm going to have a beer and answer your questions. Okay, the first question we have was from Adrian. Adrian, thank you for submitting a question. The question is, correct way to spool up a winch, pressure amount, lay on the spool, etc. Now, we went over that in the early videos, but just briefly again, we'll say that it's similar to spooling an overhead fishing reel in the fact that you need a lot of pressure on it. You need to stack the line side by side perfectly under a high load. If you don't do that, when you go to use the winch and it goes in the water and it's under load, the line's going to end up burying on the drum and it's going to put you in some grief. Then you have to go up to the front and grab it and get it loose. So spool it up under lots of pressure, you won't have any problems. Second question from Stan. Stan, thank you for the question. Why is the correct load rating size on supply wire so crucial to the operation of all high load accessories? That is a phenomenal question, Stan. Thank you very, very much for asking. Now, on our winches, the GX1 through the GX5, we recommend 3 BNS cable mostly. When I say mostly, the run length has a lot to do with that. So, on a trailer boat, you're going, a 30, 40 foot boat, 3 BNS cable is probably going to be okay. If you have a particularly long run from the batteries to the solenoid, I'd step up the cable size to a 2 BNS 35 mil square on the larger winches, the GX3, GX4, GX5s. Why is that important? Well, a lot of guys will have a look at what a cable's rated to. Say you'll get a thin little cable that size and it'll say rated to 90 amps. And you look at the circuit breaker that comes with your GX1 and it says 80 amps and you say, fantastic, I'm covered. No, not at all. The reason being there are derating factors. The longer you run, the bigger the cable you need. If you make really tight corners, almost just like a water hose, you're going to need bigger cable. If it's in a warm environment, if it's going to be hot, that's another derating factor, you need bigger cable. We recommend 3 BNS cable because we know it's going to work. And we recommend it for the GX1 all the way up to the GX5. Unless the runs are really long, then we drop down another size to a number 2 cable. I hope that answers your question for you. Jean asks, what's the best way to lay an anchor when approaching your preferred fishing spot? That's a very good question, John. Thank you for asking. A little bit of it comes with experience. Once you use your GX series anchor winch from Lone Star, once you use it a couple of times, you're going to have it nutted out quite easily. They drop very fast. So basically all you need to do is judge your wind and judge the tide. The drop and retrieval rating, you're going to work out pretty quickly anyway. So just judge your tide and judge the wind. If you want to lay your anchor and it's directly downwind, go into the wind a little bit. I go in about 10 to 15 meters for every 10 meters I want to drop, depending on tide, of course. But basically the answer is just overshoot it a bit. You work it out quite quickly. The other thing too, though, is with the anchors. With our MMX anchors, they actually tend to work better if you set them before everything is let out, if the conditions are bad. They're a very, very good anchor and they set very quickly. So with a lot of anchors, what a lot of guys do is they let everything out and then they put it in reverse. With the MMXs, you can actually set them straight away. And which brings me to another point about the MMXs. We've had a lot of local charter guys. We had one in particular say that he used to have to let out 40 meters of rope and chain to anchor in 20 meters, actually right out there. But once he started using our MMX5, he was anchoring in 20 meters of water with 24 meters of rope. So it sort of blows the whole scope out a bit too. Now obviously the conditions were nice for him to be able to do that, but again, it just goes to show you that modern technology, modern designs, there's a lot of great anchor manufacturers out there now. Your old scopes sort of go out the window to an extent. Who have we got here? Brendan, thank you for your question. Brendan's question is, depending on what size boat you have, how much chain should I use and how much rope should I use to match the chain on the drum? Well, Brendan, that's a very good question. You should at least use your boat length in chain. So if you have a 6 meter boat, you should at least have 6 meters of chain, and it should be 8 mil, not the lighter 6 mil stuff. We issue 6 mil chain on our GX1 winch because the drum is small and it packs on the drum nice and neat, and you can get a bit on there. But that's not really appropriate for anchoring a 6 or 7 meter boat in a bit of sea conditions. Matthew, thank you for your question. Benefits of drum winch over capstan. That is a very good question. It has a follow-up as well. Benefits of a drum winch over capstan. Well, I'll explain to you guys why drum winches are so popular across all brands. It's because they're easy to use, and you have less issues with the drum winch than you would a capstan in regards to rope slippage. The rope that you can use on a drum winch is cheaper than what you have to use on a windlass. And the drop and retrieval rates on a good drum winch, not all of them, certainly ours, is a lot faster than your typical windlass. So your typical windlass, you're going to drop retrieve anywhere between 15 and 25 meters in a minute. Your drum winches like the GX series from Lone Star, you're looking at close to 50. It's double the speed. You still got a lot of torque. They're easy to use. As explained earlier, you can have knots on your rope and it comes in fine. You can have rope to chain, it comes in fine. There's no slipping. They're just a very easy product to use. The next question from Matt is benefits of powered down winch over Freefall. Okay, so we only make a powered down drum anchor winch. That's all we're ever going to make, like ever. We will never make a Freefall anchor winch. There are companies that do. The reason that we don't make a Freefall drum anchor winch is from an engineering standpoint. There is no way to get a winch with clutches, actuators, Freefall mechanisms, or something where the shaft disengages from the drive. There's no way to get that as reliable as a straight power up, power down product. It's not possible. There are more parts to fail. There are more things going on in that model. So if you're using a full-time Freefall model, which some companies make, which means that when you hit the down button, it always free falls. It won't just power down. You have to go up to your anchor locker, and it takes about 30 seconds to change that from free fall to power down, and then it will only power down. So there's a bit of mucking around with that. But in those type of scenarios, they don't use any extra electrical gear. It's simply through one-way roller bearings and clutch type devices. We won't use those simply because as we say, there's more that can go wrong. Also, when you go to drop your anchor, you can have chain piling up on top of your anchor. And we just want to eliminate problems for our users. When people buy a Lone Star anchor winch, we want them to use it and always be happy. We want to minimize the chance of something bad happening down to the smallest percent possible, which we have with the GX series. They're virtually bulletproof. Nothing happens. No one ever, says, my anchor fell when it shouldn't have, or I've got this issue or that issue, because those parts simply aren't in our winches. With the other style of Freefall, you can use an electric actuator to disengage the shaft from the transmission. There's a few things that can go wrong there, and again, guys, look, I'm not knocking the guys that make these products. Good on them, and we hope their customers are happy. It's just not something that we're ever going to do. Having that extra component in the system means there's something else that can go wrong. Water can get in it. The shaft can maybe not align with the gearbox again coming in. There are a few things that can happen. We don't like them, so we don't use them. And we came to this conclusion long before we decided not to design any, simply through talking to commercial operators and commercial customers. A lot of guys have had products like this, they've used them, they will never put them on again. Never again is a comment we get quite often. So I figured the best way to provide a product is something that falls really fast. Under power though, you're always in control of that drop. It's always up to the operator, it never gets away from you. Have something that drops fast and retrieves fast. It's very simple, you know, very simple, very, very little to go wrong. So I'd just rather have our operators in control of the anchor at all times. And look, it doesn't take long to get the anchor down to the bottom anyway. Here locally, you know, you're looking at about 20 meters of water. It's down in 20 seconds. You know, could be even a bit quicker because the drum's nice and full and big. It's down fast. It's down very fast. And, you know, even guys that anchor offshore in 60, 70 meters of water, say 200 feet of water, they have no issue whatsoever. We have charter operators who go out there daily and they anchor on the offshore reefs in 60, 70 meters. They absolutely love the products. And, you know, they get down fast. You need to use the product and you sort of understand, oh yeah, that's not something we actually need. So that's why we don't make a Freefall. I know it was a long-winded answer. I'm not trying to knock anyone who does, but that's why we don't do them. Ron, thank you for the question. Ron asks, how do I stop my anchor rope bunching up in the middle of my winch? Well, Ron, our current rollers, which have the curve in the middle, certainly do help to prevent that a lot. So I would suggest that getting in touch with us and updating your roller to one of the curved ones. If you have an old roller that is our old flat white ones, which we stopped doing in 2015, give us a ring, we'll send you out a new curved one. Okay, next question. Michael asks, general maintenance on a winch, monthly, annually, what to look for to avoid failure of any kind? Michael, that's a really good question. Thank you for asking that. When it comes to the winch itself, there's zero maintenance. When I say zero maintenance, is that we don't want you to touch it. There's nothing you can do to improve that product or the life of that product other than aesthetically maybe a light freshwater washdown, but that's not going to make the product last any longer or shorter. The number one thing you can do is check your connections inside the boat. That's on your batteries, your isolator switch, and your solenoid. Make sure they're free of corrosion. Make sure they're tight. The number one problem that we come across when people ring the office and say they have an issue, it ends up being a loose cable or a corroded cable, or people who have used automotive grade cable instead of tinned in connecting their system up. If you're using automotive grade cable, there's a real issue. Corrosion gets underneath the heat shrink and underneath the lug. You never see it. You'll look at the connection and you think, oh, that looks great, looks perfect. It's not. The cable's probably black. That's adding resistance, and it's making the unit draw more power than it should. It won't be performing as it should. So use tinned cable, check your connections are tight and clean. That's it. That's all you can do. Okay, the last guy we have, Harry asks, why is it important to make your products Australian made? Why do you put your winches in torture tests? And would you warranty my winch if it was out of warranty? Okay, why is it important to make your products Australian made? Well, it's important to us simply for control. I have a way that I wanted to do things, a way that we need to build things, and it's not something that not something we wanted to attempt to outsource. We definitely need to do these things in-house to assure the quality is 100% of the time. That's why we do everything that can be made in Australia is made in Australia. Everything that can be made under our roof is made under our roof. And we've been doing business like that for quite a while, and we absolutely love it. You know, the proof is in the pudding. The satisfaction of the customers is as close to 100% as you can possibly get. The warranty returns are virtually non-existent. When they do happen, we're very, very quick to respond. Cost is not a concern for us. Customer satisfaction is a concern for us. And we just have no desire to be in that bottom end of the market and play the how cheap can you make it game, because that's a zero-sum game as far as I'm concerned. So that's why we make our stuff here. It's for quality and quality control, and just control in general. So good question. Why put your winches through the torture test? Well, you need to show people what they can do. The issue we have is, you know, without a, that's a nice boat. Without a relative comparison, you don't really know what's out there. I'll give you an example. You know, a few years ago, we came out with a couple of features in the GX series that were world first, and no one's done them before, and still no one's done them since, regardless. Those were an IP68 certified motor. We worked very hard on that motor, and we worked with some partners locally, and we worked with partners overseas. We got those motors done. We sent them to a lab in Australia. We had our certification, IP68 certified. Very happy and proud of that. The problem is, within a matter of months, other companies start calling their stuff IP68 rated, even though it's never been tested and it's not certified, and it's the same thing that they've always sold. And then that starts to creep into other things. We started putting a 1 kilowatt motor on our smaller winches many years ago, and that's a good thing because, like I say, you can put a relatively small winch on a large boat. May not have the drum capacity you're going to want, but it's always going to have the power and longevity. Again, people started calling things, you know, 1 kilowatt that, you know, watch the drum winch shootout. Obviously they weren't. So that's why torture tests are important, because after a matter of time, if you were to look on paper and you look at, say, 3 or 4 different products, all the specifications look the same. You know, they're very similar. All the rhetoric is the same. The descriptions are the same. And it leaves the customer to think, well, you know, these are all the same. I'll just get the cheapest one. Well, people needed to know what was what. And what's written and inferred is not always accurate. So torture tests are good, and product comparisons in general are good. They're a good thing. They make competitors better. They make the products better, which is ultimately better for the consumer. So it's a good thing all around. There's no long-term losses in something like a comparison test. It's good for everyone, literally good for everyone. From opposition, manufacturers, consumers, retailers, it's all the way around. It's a good thing that happens. Would you warranty my winch if it was out of warranty? Well, I mean, we're nice, but you know, we're not saints here. We have done that in the past. We've done that before. We would ask you some questions and see how long you've had the product, how out of warranty it is, what it's going to take to get you going again, and we take that on a case-by-case basis. It's not out of the question. We've certainly done it before. We're not the type of company that, you know, if you have a product for 5 years and a month and ring us and say, oh, it's a month out, sorry. We usually work with you. On the topic of warranty, if and when they do happen, we always try and handle that directly from our office, either through us in the post or through the local distributors and dealers. We usually speak directly to the customer who's having the issue, and it doesn't matter if they're in Australia or in Europe or in Canada or in the US or New Zealand or anywhere in the world. We usually liaise in person with that exact individual who purchased our product. So it's not some long process that's got your 6 degrees of separation. We take warranty issues very, very seriously. And I quite often call people, or someone from my office will call the person experiencing the issue anywhere in the world. We work with our local distributor. How can we get this person active again and on the water quickly? So, all right, guys, I think you've listened to me enough rattle on. I think I'm going to shut the camera off and enjoy this beautiful day. Thank you for watching very much, and have a good one.